I'm King Link, and it's the first week of January. That means it's the Humble Choice January 2023 review. This month there are 8 titles from Humble, and there are a few oddities in the selection here, but before we get into the overall bundle, I played each game for an hour on stream, and I'm ready to tell you about the titles on offer and who might enjoy each game. Let's get started with the game already on screen. Doom Eternal, a step forward or backwards for this franchise. Doom Eternal is the sequel to the major hit Doom 2016, and once again you inhabit the Doomslayer who just devastates the forces of hell. Rip and tear might have been said in the first game, but it's lived here, with a higher focus on glory kills, chainsaw attacks, flamethrowers, and grenades. The action this time is more visceral and intense. And yet, I don't really enjoy this. The extra combat pieces feel like abilities you're supposed to punch every time they're available rather than optional additions. The story is weaker and it demystifies the Slayer, which is a huge mistake. The addition of parkour feels out of place, and just the word Marauder. If you've played the game, you probably know what I mean. If you haven't, experience it yourself. I have a longer video that I'll link at the end, but I just don't think this is as good. Pick this up if, well, you liked Doom 2016. Listen, just because I didn't enjoy it as much doesn't mean you won't, but in addition, it's $12. If you liked any of the Doom games, why not take a shot at this one, find out why people call Doom Eternal the best game ever, or not as good as Doom 2016. And even at its worst, it's still Doom. Tribes of Midgard, a fun survival game with a focus on battle. Tribes of Midgard does a lot to get people into the survival genre. Looting items is extremely fast, players can level up and build up their base and character as they want. The entire game is based on trying to survive as long as the player can against an onslaught of enemies, including the impressive giant Jotuns, and if players fail, the game resets and has the player start over on a different map to make different choices. The other side is, well, the tutorial is good. There's a lot to understand, to the point that I would say most players are going to be spending 5 to 10 hours here just to understand the proper flow of the game, or of course they can read a guide. But there is a bigger issue. There's a cash shop which appears to be limited to cosmetic items, and a battle pass, though there is no pay version of that, and that has daily or weekly quests, and those are things I always call out. But with Ubisoft and Gearbox Publishing involved with the game's launch, I kind of worry what's coming next. Pick this up if you like survival games, especially if you want to partner up with a few people and play a game. This actually has a 10-player online multiplayer, which is extremely unique, and while there's only a horde mode and a survival mode, it does feel like there's a decent amount of content here to keep you entertained.
A middle-aged black is sitting behind the counter with his hands in his lap. The buttons and zippers on his
Encased, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic RPG, another Fallout-style RPG. Encased is a large RPG where players are exploring a massive dome that appeared in the 1970s. There's a mix of a sci-fi futuristic design alongside the 70s style. There's a lot of voice acting here as well, and most of it's really good. The combat is the typical tactical battle system that works well, and the player is given a lot of freedom, including the ability to steal from random people or get into a fight with pretty much whoever they want. The first hour here was mostly tutorials, so I didn't get to see too much of the real game. However, when I killed everyone in that initial lift that you find yourself in while trying out combat, the game actually just ignored my murder spree when I could have easily explained it away with a clever moment that would have impressed me. I saw at least one tutorial that was in Russian for no reason, and it does seem like the character you design matters quite a bit to the beginning of the story, but I'm pretty sure that the narrative is going to dovetail everything together relatively fast. Pick this up if you already played a bunch of other Fallout-inspired games. This is interesting, but I think I'm going to be playing Wastelands 3 first. There's also really dialogue-heavy games out there like Disco Elysium that do that much better, though if you did enjoy Atom RPG Trudograd as well, this is going to be worth your time, but these are all very long games. It's still worth checking out if you like this style of game, though I have heard from a couple people I can trust that the game does get a little bit weaker in the second half of it. OlliOlli World, skating the world in style. OlliOlli World takes a simple concept of skateboarding and creates a unique platformer around it. This is the third game in the series. The first two are really solid games, but OlliOlli World elevates the formula and shines with a style of its own. Every level looks interesting and the player is left wondering what will be coming next. The entire game is based around the relatively simple controls as well, so players will be more focused on the level than trying to pull off each trick. The one issue with OlliOlli World is it's really designed around tackling the main challenges. If someone was to beat every level at the bare minimum and just move on, OlliOlli World will probably last around 6 hours, but once players try to beat every challenge, OlliOlli World is going to require multiple playthroughs of every level, and it's going to take you at least about 30 hours. Pick this up if you want to cross between skateboarding and platforming. This isn't Tony Hawk, but it's also not Tony Hawk, if that makes any sense. Its focus is on skateboarding and style, but mostly on getting through the levels. If you want more challenge though, try doing every level as a full combo. There are leaderboards to chase as well as 3 unique tasks for every level. This also comes with the expansion pass, so there's even more levels to check out here. Grow, Song of the Evertree. So bored. The farming genre, for lack of a better term, has grown like crazy. There are so many different takes on the idea. Grow's Song of the Evertree has the player replanting the world to beat back an encroaching darkness and singing to plants. It sounds really good and it's certainly popular. I just really can't figure out why. So much of this game feels like chores and not the type that is fun or interesting. Instead of building towards something, you're just told to go grow plants, farm them for items, and eventually build a town, but everything feels so monotonous. Admittedly, I'm really early in the game, but I went back after an hour to play more, and I actually gave up a second time because I was just so bored with doing the chores. Pick this up honestly, if you have nothing else. Maybe this is the type of game that really doesn't work for that first hour type of review that I do, but as always, I ask if the first 90 minutes of a game are so weak, why not cut those out or just improve them? The thing is, while playing this game, I actually started thinking up a list. Slime Rancher, Stardew Valley, My Time at Portia, Graveyard Keeper, Forager, and even the soon-to-be very greedy Dreamlight Valley. All of these games have great opening hours that gets players excited for the rest of the experience. Grow just feels like it's chores upon more chores. I'd really rather play any of those games I've mentioned. Conan Chop Chop, a multiplayer roguelite. Conan Chop Chop is a fresh take on the Conan character using the style of Cyanide and Happiness as well as the gameplay of Binding of Isaac, though without the darkness of either of those things. There's an ability to add in up to 4 players, including couch co-op, which is a nice touch. The story has a bit of solid humor, the combat is really good, though parry heavy, and there's different equipment you earn. However, the first boss was brutally hard to the point that we only took off less than a third of his life bar on the 2 chances we reached him. It feels like the game wanted the player to master the encounters more than anything else. There is unlockable equipment which might help over time, but the boss felt like a major skill or grind wall. Pick this up if you have a group of people to play with, especially in person. I don't know if I'd enjoy this as much solo, but it's also more interesting with multiple people. I played this game alongside my daughter, and we actually had a good time, though it's probably not going to be something that we will rely on. Still, it felt like a fun and unique game that I really wasn't expecting. Hokko Life, a take on Animal Crossing. Hokko Life screams its inspiration. You have animal characters arriving in town on a train, and people just walking up to you and making demands of your time. But that's also exactly what Animal Crossing is. This isn't trying to create a new genre, it's taking what is successful and finding its audience, and doing well enough that after a few minutes to get comfortable with the game, I was having a good time. Hokko Life is focused on a laid-back style of game where players build a town for characters, add new citizens to the town, and just have a simple existence. It gets into the meat of the game rather quickly, but this is a slow raft ride down a lazy river rather than a whitewater rafting trip. It's not going to appeal to everyone, but it's a game that you can boot up every couple of days and play for like 30 minutes, just enjoying the atmosphere. Pick this up if you enjoy Animal Crossing. I really stress this because this isn't attempting to be something completely new. It knows what it wants to deliver to players and does it successfully. This is the comfortable shoe for players who want to experience Animal Crossing on a different platform, and the fact it's not tied to a set internal clock means players can play on their own schedule. The Serpent Rogue, an alchemy scavenging game. The Serpent Rogue has players starting as a plague doctor named the Warden as they try to fight back against an approaching corruption. Players will forage for items, brew potions, and use that to fight back against the evil of the land. As a concept, it sounds intriguing and the graphics are good. Battling the evil forces makes the player wonder what they'll find. The problem is the Serpent Rogue runs into a couple of rather big problems. The first is that without any tutorial, it can be hard for players to understand what they're doing, and even once that's understood, how to use many items is kept from the player. Even just understanding how to use a potion correctly can confuse new players. The second problem is that the maps don't appear to reset, so if a large boss or a strong enemy is chasing you to an exit, returning through that same portal will immediately put you against that same enemy. There's possibly a way around this, but again, there's nothing to tell you how to deal with this. A final issue is that I've heard that the game can be rather short, and while there's a lot to explore, the main story is only a handful of hours. Pick this up if you want an obtuse survival game. It has traces of Don't Starve in it, but ultimately, I couldn't enjoy this game, and I couldn't even begin to understand it. This is a game where you're better off turning to a walkthrough or a guide before you even start. That's not really a good experience in my opinion. And that's what I have for this month. Literally. Usually I slip into a Humble Games collection game, but there's nothing new this month, and while Archvale is worth checking out, I've already covered that and everything else in the past, so let's talk about the bundle itself. It's Doom. Seriously, this is a major freaking bundle just because of one title, and people have been requesting it for a long time. Well, here it is, and it's a AAA game. You don't get the Doom Eternal DLC with the bundle, but you do get 2 coupons for 60% off, meaning you can get each of the DLCs for $8. That's not a great deal, but if you want the game and the DLC, you can have it all for under 30 bucks. That being said, I still think this is a solid bundle outside of Doom Eternal. There are a few high-value games. Let's just take a quick look at Is There Any Deal? And it's kind of impressive that none of these games have been bundled before. Now, the current price is extremely low, but I did pull these numbers on the final day of the Steam Winter Sale. I expect the numbers to probably double, if not more, in the next week. As you can see, many of those games are over 70% off currently. If you are interested in the current numbers, I will post a link in the description. The one game that wasn't cheaper than the price of the bundle was OlliOlli World. Well, I think anyone who bought the game 3 weeks ago at $26 for the Red Edition feels pretty foolish, and yet I'm admitting it here on a YouTube video, so yeah, it was exactly 3 weeks. The one other thing I have to mention is that there are 2 sets of games that almost feel paired. The Serpent Rogue and Tribes of Midgard are both scavenging games, though different. A more similar pair is Grow and Hokko Life, which is both about city building. It's strange, but I think the differences in the game quality stand out a lot more when placed next to each other. Hopefully that at least explains what I'm about to do. Let's get to the tier list. 4 categories: full bundle, strong contenders, average, and then misses. And yeah. The bottom of the misses is the Serpent Rogue. I struggled with this game, and I'm sure like every game, someone will love it. The art is good, but the gameplay here frustrated me to the point that I have zero interest in returning and would not recommend it to anyone. It reminded me of the Cultist Simulator, and like that game, I'm willing to say I may have missed something, but I also would question, shouldn't the game have taught me or shown me what I was missing? Speaking of that, the other game in the misses is Grow, Song of the Evertree. I went back to this game for an extra 30 minutes after I played it on stream, and I was still bored by it. We'll talk about another city management game soon, but this one does everything it can to make the player hate the gameplay loop in that first couple of hours. Gathering resources can be fun. Why do the developers hate fun? That's the tier list after 2 games, and as I said, if it wasn't for the match set aspects, maybe they wouldn't end up here, but truthfully, I really dislike both of these games. It's probably me, but I'm the one in control of the list, and there they go. The average tier also has 2 titles. The first is Encased, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic RPG. This might be a very slow burn, but the first hour had barely anything that hooked me as a player. Granted, the premise of the dome is interesting, but there just is a very slow, methodical tutorial that just didn't get me going. Still might be worth it for fans of the original Fallout. The other game in the average tier is Conan Chop Chop. I enjoyed playing this, but I enjoyed it because of who I played it with, not necessarily the game itself, and I question if I could really enjoy it the same if I played it solo. I doubt it, mostly due to the high difficulty level and a gameplay loop that feels the same for every enemy. Though if you do have some couch co-op going on, this would be significantly higher on this list. I didn't even talk about what's best in life: to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. And here's how the tiers look at the halfway point. We still have 4 more games to go, and the good news is the strong contenders only have a single title. The strong contender is Hokko Life. I'm not going to act like most people are going to enjoy this, but for the right person, this is a complete slam dunk. That chill vibe from Animal Crossing exists here, and I wouldn't mind returning this game and seeing what else it has up its sleeve. As I said, this is the lazy river of gaming, but I also think lazy rivers are the best way to relax. This leaves us with 3 games worth the full bundle price. The first is Tribes of Midgard. I love the gameplay here and I'm ready to return and play even more, especially if I can get a couple of people together. I really would love to explore this world. I still think this game could be taken down the wrong path by the publisher or developer and trying to squeeze money out of fans, but until that happens, it's worth the price. The second game worth the full bundle price is Doom Eternal. Yeah, I'm not a fan, I won't play this again, been there, done that, made a 27-minute video on it, and yet, if I was given the option to completely forget about everything in the game, I still might return to play this game. If you haven't played this, you should check it out if you're a fan of Doom. About half of Doom Eternal players think it's the best, and half prefer Doom 2016. Make up your own opinion. And my favorite game this month, OlliOlli World. The style, the difficulty, the controls, and the gameplay here are all perfect. The ability to beat a level or just turn around and try to master that same level makes the game shine. There's a ton to do here for completionists, and it still has a night-tight gameplay loop for people who just want some simple skateboarding platforming. I'm looking forward to playing more of this right after I finish this video. And that's what I have for the tier list. Now, maybe I am being too harsh, but I thought a lot about the ranking. Pretty happy with where it is now. Let me know what you think about the titles or what you're thinking 2023 might bring us in future Humble Choices. And just remember, as of right now, this is the best Humble Choice of the year and the worst so far in 2023. Speaking of 2023, I have another video ready to go. In 2 weeks, I'll be doing the best of 2022, talking about the games I played last year, and of course, I will be crowning the best Humble Choice game and month. Let me know what title you enjoyed in 2022, and of course, try to guess mine. If you're curious about that video and haven't subscribed, you know what to do, and ring that bell so you can be the first to see that list. Game Pass videos are officially over, but I do have a few other things I'm working on, though I will be taking a small break and focusing on Humble for at least a couple months. I'll be popping up 2 videos here, including that video on Doom Eternal if you want to see my in-depth thoughts on that one. See you next time.